There is a brutal, undeniable reality about the WNBA that the league office desperately tries to hide from every single person watching right now. Alyssa Thomas and the Phoenix Mercury just executed a targeted, systematic physical assault on Caitlin Clark at Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indiana, and the officials stood there and watched it happen in real time. For 40 minutes, Caitlin Clark was forced to navigate an absolute bloodbath completely alone, absorbing blow after blow after blow while the referees swallowed their whistles and Stephanie White sabotaged her from the bench. This is not hyperbole. This is not exaggeration. This is what we all just witnessed with our own eyes. The Indiana Fever lost to a Phoenix Mercury team that had won 5 games all season. 5. Let that sink in for a second. 5 games. This is one of the worst rosters in the league, a team with no depth, no defensive identity, no business being competitive against a Fever squad that has Caitlin Clark playing at an MVP level, and yet the final score does not even begin to tell the real story. Because what happened on that court was not basketball, it was targeting, it was intent to injure, and the league sat there and let it happen. Welcome back. This is Hoop Vision, and today we are ripping the doors off the conspiracy of silence that is protecting Alyssa Thomas and exposing the catastrophic coaching malpractice that is destroying Caitlin Clark's historic season from the inside. Before I walk you through exactly how Alyssa Thomas tried to end Caitlin Clark's career on live television, I need you to understand the context that the mainstream media is deliberately skipping over. This is not the first time. This is not an isolated incident. This is not a one-game anomaly. The Phoenix Mercury came into this game with a game plan, and that game plan was not to outscore the Fever. It was to hurt Caitlin Clark, to intimidate her, to send a message. And the WNBA, the same league that has built an entire marketing campaign around Caitlin Clark's face, did absolutely nothing to stop it. You would have thought after what happened in the last game, after the flagrant fouls, after the landing zone violations, after the targeting that was so obvious that even casual fans were calling it out on social media, you would have thought the league would have issued a warning, a memo, a reminder to the officials that the biggest star this league has ever seen deserves basic protection. But no, the WNBA was not prepared. The referees were not prepared, and Caitlin Clark paid the price in blood. Let me take you through the evidence piece by piece because every single frame of this game is damning. Caitlin Clark came out on fire, 13 points in the first quarter alone. She was 5 of 9 from the floor, 19 points and 8 assists in the first half. She was on pace for another 30-point double-double performance, the kind of stat line that should have been the story of the night. But Stephanie White pulled her with 2 minutes left in the first quarter, and then pulled her again with 2 minutes left in the second quarter. Caitlin Clark, the best player on the floor, the player who was single-handedly carrying the offense, played only 14 minutes in the first half. 14. Kelsey Mitchell played 19. Let me say that again so it sinks in. Kelsey Mitchell, who is a good player but is not Caitlin Clark, played 5 more minutes than Caitlin Clark in a half where Caitlin was on an absolute heater. Stephanie White sat there on the bench and watched her franchise player cook, watched her drop 16 points and 8 assists in 14 minutes and decided that what the team really needed was 6 straight possessions run through Kelsey Mitchell. This is not coaching, this is sabotage. This is stat suppression. This is a head coach who is so committed to her system, so terrified of letting Caitlin Clark be great, that she would rather lose the game than let the rookie take over. And while Stephanie White was busy sabotaging Caitlin from the bench, Alyssa Thomas was trying to injure her on the court. Watch the tape, go back and watch the tape frame by frame, because what you are about to see is not a basketball play. Alyssa Thomas winds up and swings at Caitlin Clark's throat. The ball is on the other side of the court. The ball is nowhere near Caitlin. And Alyssa Thomas, with the referees watching, throws a closed fist directly at Caitlin Clark's head. This is not incidental contact. This is not a basketball move. This is assault. And the officials called nothing, not a flagrant, not a technical, not even a common foul. They let it go. They looked the other way, and Alyssa Thomas stayed in the game. But it gets worse, because that punch was not the only dirty play. On another possession, Caitlin Clark is driving to the basket, and Alyssa Thomas puts her knee directly into Caitlin's midsection. Look at where the ball is. The ball is behind Alyssa Thomas. Caitlin Clark does not have possession. There is no reason, none, for Alyssa Thomas to be making contact with Caitlin's body in that moment, and yet she drives her knee in, full force, targeting the same area where Caitlin has been dealing with a back injury all season. This is not defense. This is targeting. This is a veteran player who knows exactly what she is doing, who knows that the referees are not going to protect Caitlin, and who is taking full advantage of that fact to inflict as much damage as possible. And the league is letting it happen. The WNBA, the same league that suspended players for far less, the same league that hands out flagrant fouls for hard screens and landing zone violations, sat there and watched Alyssa Thomas throw punches and knees at the biggest star in the sport and did absolutely nothing. This deserves a suspension. This deserves a fine. This deserves a formal investigation. Alyssa Thomas should have been ejected from that game in the first quarter. She should be sitting out the next 5 games. But instead, she played the entire game, dropped 24 points and 8 assists, and walked off the court like she had just won a championship. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark, the actual victim in all of this, is dealing with what appears to be a significant back injury that could have been prevented if the officials had done their jobs. Let me be entirely clear with you right now. This is a pattern. This is not random. This is not bad luck. This is the old guard of the WNBA sending a message to Caitlin Clark. You are not welcome here. You are not one of us. And we are going to make you pay for every headline, every highlight, every ticket sold with your name on it. Alyssa Thomas is a 12-year veteran. She knows the rules. She knows what a flagrant foul looks like. She knows that you cannot throw punches at another player's head. She knows that you cannot drive your knee into another player's midsection when the ball is on the other side of the court. She did it anyway, because she knew she could get away with it. Because the referees have made it clear game after game that Caitlin Clark is not going to get the same protection that other stars get. And Alyssa Thomas exploited that. And it is not just Alyssa Thomas. The entire Phoenix Mercury roster was in on it. Kahleah Copper, who dominated the free throw line with 15 of 16 makes and finished with 28 points, was getting every single call. Every single one. She breathed on a fever defender and got to the line. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is getting punched in the throat and the referees are looking the other way. Dejounte Carrington had 19 off the bench. DeWanna Bonner, who should have been called for multiple landing zone fouls, finished with 13. The Mercury shot 60% from the floor and put up 111 points, 111, against a fever defense that is supposed to be coached by Stephanie White, a coach who built her entire reputation on defensive schemes. This is embarrassing. This is a catastrophic failure on every level. But here is the part that should terrify every Fever fan watching this video. Caitlin Clark barely played in the second half. She finished the game with 19 points and 8 assists in limited minutes, and she was clearly hobbled. There is a play in the third quarter where Caitlin pulls up and grabs her back, and you can see the pain on her face. This is the play where the injury happened. This is the moment where Alyssa Thomas's dirty tactics paid off. And Stephanie White, instead of calling a timeout, instead of getting Caitlin to the bench and checking on her franchise player, just let her keep playing, let her keep absorbing contact, let her keep getting targeted by a Mercury team that had already proven they were willing to cross every line. Caitlin Clark had the 3rd most shot attempts on the team when she finally came out of the game. 3rd. Behind Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston. Let me repeat that because it is so absurd it almost does not sound real. Caitlin Clark, the player who was 5 of 9 and 19 points in the first half, the player who is averaging MVP-level numbers, had fewer shot attempts than Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston. Kelsey Mitchell finished with 30 points on 11 of 16 shooting, 7 of 9 from 3. That is a great game. I am not taking anything away from Kelsey Mitchell's performance, but when it came down to the final possession, when the Fever needed a bucket to stay alive, Kelsey Mitchell committed an offensive foul and turned it over. Losers find a way to lose. That has been the story of her entire career. She can go off for 30 points and still find a way to cost her team the game when it matters most. And Aaliyah Boston, who finished with 23 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists, was absolutely dominated by Alyssa Thomas on both ends of the floor. This is the 4th straight game where Aaliyah Boston has been outplayed by whoever she is matched up against. She is shooting too many threes, 1 of 4 from beyond the arc. She is missing bunnies around the rim. She is picking up dumb fouls, and she is getting cooked on defense by a Phoenix Mercury frontcourt that should not be able to score on her. Alyssa Thomas went 12 of 17 from the floor, and most of those buckets came with Aaliyah Boston guarding her. That is unacceptable. That is a player who is not locked in, who is not playing with the intensity and focus that a playoff caliber team needs from its starting center. But you cannot blame Caitlin Clark for this loss. You cannot blame her for the fact that the Fever gave up 60% shooting to a 5-win team. You cannot blame her for the fact that Stephanie White's defensive scheme, the scheme that was supposed to be the foundation of this entire roster, got torched for 111 points. Caitlin Clark did not even play most of the second half. She was on the bench, icing her back, while Stephanie White rolled out lineups that had no business being on the floor in a close game. This is coaching malpractice. This is a head coach who is more interested in proving that her system works than in winning basketball games. And the Fever are paying the price. Stephanie White stood on the sideline and watched her team get embarrassed by a Phoenix Mercury squad that had won 5 games all season. 5. This is a team with no depth, no defensive identity, no business being in this game. And they walked into Gainbridge Fieldhouse and won by double digits because Stephanie White refused to ride her best player, refused to protect her best player, refused to make the adjustments that every single person watching that game could see needed to be made. This is the same coach who benched Caitlin Clark for 2 minutes at the end of the first quarter when she had 13 points. The same coach who sat Caitlin for 2 minutes at the end of the second quarter when she had 16 and 8. The same coach who in the second half with the game on the line decided that what the Fever really needed was more Kelsey Mitchell isolation plays. I want every single person watching this video to take a deep breath and really process what we just witnessed. The Indiana Fever have the best player in the WNBA. They have a generational talent who is putting up historic numbers, who is selling out arenas, who is bringing more attention to this league than it has ever had in its entire history. And their head coach is actively working against her, actively suppressing her minutes, actively running plays away from her, actively putting her in positions where she has to absorb physical punishment from veteran players who know the referees are not going to protect her. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not speculation. This is what is happening on camera, in front of millions of people, and the league is doing nothing about it. And the targeting is only going to get worse. Because the Phoenix Mercury just proved that you can punch Caitlin Clark in the throat, drive your knee into her midsection, land on top of her on every single drive, and the referees will not call a single flagrant foul. Alyssa Thomas walked off that court without a technical, without a flagrant, without so much as a warning from the officials. She proved that the blueprint works, and every other team in the league is watching. Every other veteran player who resents Caitlin Clark, who resents the attention she is getting, who resents the fact that a rookie is outplaying them, is taking notes. They know now that the league is not going to protect her. They know that they can get away with dirty plays. And they are going to keep doing it until someone gets seriously hurt. The WNBA needs to step in, right now, today, before the next game. The league office needs to review the tape from this game, identify every single dirty play that Alyssa Thomas committed, and hand down a suspension. A real suspension, not a fine, not a warning, a multi-game suspension that sends a message to every player in the league that targeting is not going to be tolerated. And the officials who worked this game need to be held accountable. They need to be fined. They need to be suspended. Because what they allowed to happen on that court was a disgrace to the sport. But I am not holding my breath, because the WNBA has made it clear over and over again that they do not actually care about protecting their biggest star. They care about the old guard. They care about the veterans who have been in the league for a decade and feel entitled to respect that they have not earned. They care about maintaining the status quo, even if it means letting Caitlin Clark get beaten up on national television. And that is why this league is never going to reach its full potential. Because when you have a once-in-a-generation talent, a player who can change the trajectory of your entire sport, and you let veteran players target her with impunity, you are telling every casual fan, every potential sponsor, every media outlet that is thinking about covering your league that you do not actually value greatness. You value seniority. You value politics. You value everything except the thing that actually matters, which is putting the best product on the floor. I am going to put my name on this. If Alyssa Thomas does not receive a suspension for what she did in this game, if the WNBA does not take action within the next 72 hours, then we will know for certain that the league is not serious about protecting Caitlin Clark. And if that happens, if the league continues to let veteran players target her, then it is only a matter of time before Caitlin suffers a serious injury, a season-ending injury, the kind of injury that changes the trajectory of a career. And when that happens, when Caitlin Clark is sitting on the bench in a walking boot because the league refused to protect her, every single person who watched this game and said nothing, every official who swallowed their whistle, every executive in the league office who chose to look the other way, will have blood on their hands. Caitlin Clark is playing hurt right now. She is dealing with a back injury that appears to have been aggravated, if not caused, by the targeting she absorbed in this game. And she is still putting up 19 and 8 in limited minutes. She is still the best player on the floor. She is still carrying this franchise on her back, and Stephanie White is wasting it. She is wasting a generational talent because she is too stubborn, too committed to her system, too threatened by Caitlin's greatness to just get out of the way and let her cook. The Fever are now sitting at a losing record against teams they should be dominating. They just lost to a 5-win Phoenix Mercury squad at home, in front of their own fans. This is a team that has Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell, 3 players who should be more than enough firepower to beat a bottom feeder like the Mercury. And they lost because their head coach refused to play her best player more than 25 minutes, refused to run the offense through the player who was 5 of 9 in the first half, refused to make the adjustments that every single person watching the game could see needed to be made. Stephanie White is supposed to be a defensive coach. That is her entire identity. That is why the Fever hired her. And she just gave up 60% shooting and 111 points to a team that had won 5 games all season. 60%, 111 points. To a team with no offensive system, no spacing, no business scoring that many points against a competent defense. This is a fireable offense. This is the kind of performance that should have the front office asking serious questions about whether Stephanie White is the right coach for this team. Because if you cannot get your defense to show up against a 5-win team, if you cannot figure out how to protect your franchise player from getting targeted by veteran goons, if you cannot make the basic adjustments that would allow Caitlin Clark to play more than 25 minutes in a game she is dominating, then what exactly are you doing? And the worst part, the part that should make every Fever fan absolutely furious, is that this was preventable. All of it. The targeting, the injuries, the loss, all of it could have been prevented if Stephanie White had just done her job. If she had called a timeout when Alyssa Thomas threw that punch, if she had demanded that the officials review the play, if she had pulled Caitlin out of the game the moment it became clear that the Mercury were targeting her, if she had run the offense through Caitlin in the second half instead of freezing her out, if she had made any of the decisions that a competent head coach would make when their franchise player is being targeted and injured on live television. But she did not. She sat there on the bench and watched it happen. And now Caitlin Clark is hurt, the Fever have another loss on their record, and the rest of the league knows that the blueprint works. This is not going to stop. The targeting is not going to stop. The dirty plays are not going to stop. The physical punishment is not going to stop until the WNBA steps in and makes it stop. And based on everything we have seen so far, based on the league's complete and utter failure to protect Caitlin Clark through the first half of this season, I do not believe they are going to do it. I think the league is going to keep looking the other way. I think the officials are going to keep swallowing their whistles. I think veteran players like Alyssa Thomas are going to keep getting away with dirty plays. And I think Caitlin Clark is going to keep absorbing punishment until something catastrophic happens. And when it does, when Caitlin Clark is forced to miss games because of an injury that could have been prevented, when the Fever are eliminated from playoff contention because their franchise player is sitting on the bench instead of on the court, when the WNBA loses the biggest star it has ever had because the league refused to protect her, I want every single person who is watching this video to remember this game. Remember Alyssa Thomas throwing punches. Remember the officials looking the other way. Remember Stephanie White sitting on the bench and doing nothing. Remember the WNBA choosing to protect the old guard instead of the future of the league. Because this is the moment. This is the game where it became undeniable. This is the game where the league had a choice, and they chose wrong. Caitlin Clark is the future of the WNBA. She is the reason attendance is up. She is the reason ratings are up. She is the reason sponsors are paying attention. She is the reason casual fans are tuning in. And the league is letting veteran players who are jealous, who are bitter, who are terrified of being overshadowed, beat her up on national television. That is the reality. That is what we all just watched. And if you are not furious about it, if you are not demanding that the league take action, then you are part of the problem. Drop your most honest take in the comments below. Does Alyssa Thomas deserve a suspension for what she did in this game, or is this just hard-nosed playoff basketball? I want every opinion that is willing to commit to one side. And Fever fans, I need to hear from you directly. Is it time for the front office to have a serious conversation with Stephanie White about her rotations and her refusal to protect Caitlin Clark? Yes or no in the comments. The rest of the league is watching. Hit the notification bell because the physicality is only going to escalate from here, and the league has made it clear they are not going to step in and stop it. We will see you in the next video.